Hello everyone, welcome to the final stages of our tree project. Our trees in extreme perspective using oil pastel. And so a couple things you're going to need this morning is your revised sketch of your tree drawing. So that's thing number one. Make sure that you have 2 pieces of notebook paper because we're going to apply some oil pastel today. So I have one as my placemat. I also have one as my scribble off and dump paper, so that's going to be really important. You will need your oil pastel set today, and also probably for the first time ever, dun dun dun, you need your Crayola markers. Okay, so we're going to talk about what color you may end up using today in just a moment. Now, before we get started, I do want you to do a really quick double check of your drawing. So I checked it, but I know that you guys made revisions to this. So I just want you to check it one more time. And so thing number one, if you are just looking at your tree itself, are the branches that are connected to the tree trunk. Okay, so that would be this, and this. Are they the widest part of the branch? And as it goes up and away from the tree trunk, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. Okay, I would say all of my branches do this except for these 2. So really quickly, I'm going to revise my drawing because I drew this really quickly this morning. And see how it was kind of super fat there? I'm just going to make it a little bit narrower. All right. Same deal with this. It's fat, thin, and then fat. Can't have that. Okay, so I'm thinking about thickness of branches here. All right, so that is my thing number one. Okay, thing number 2 is, do the branches go, for the most part, upward and outward? Okay, not all trees grow like this, but most do because they need sunlight in order to grow, so they grow toward the sun. So right now mine do grow upward and outward. I also should erase, if I have any lines separating my branches, like right here, I'm gonna erase those. And one of the last things I want you guys to look for is, do your trees and your landscape itself, does it look cluttered? Okay, if it looks like you can't really see any of the sky, you may want to erase every other tree or certain clusters of branches to open up your sky. What's nice is I have this, in fact, I'm going to make this tree trunk wider. You know, I have only one tree here, but it has a lot of branches. So see how I have a patch of sky here, patch of sky here. It gets a little bit more difficult in there, but I still have you know, large amounts of both tree and sky to work with. That's kind of what we're looking for. So with an editing eye, before you get started, please, please, please open up your drawing as much as you can within reason. And again, that was sort of a fault of teaching on my part. All right. So at this point, I think we are ready to get started. I could even draw a small little tree here. In fact, I may do that real quick. Just the smallest. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start thinking about what color I want to make my trees themselves. So students had said, I guess a couple days ago, they're like, you know, can we use marker for the actual tree if we're doing them in silhouette? And in silhouette means in shadow. And I said, that's a great idea. Thank you for thinking of that. So there we go. A little bit more dynamic maybe. Okay, and so what I would like you guys to start doing right now is start thinking about color choices. Okay, so a safe color choice is to do yours in true silhouette, right? In true shadow, you would use color in the trees completely with black marker. Now, if you are thinking for color schemes for your background, so here's another option. So background, you can do a warm color scheme, all right? So yellows all the way up to red violets, okay? Or you can do a cool color scheme, which is regular violet all the way through yellow green. All right, so encompasses mostly purples, blues, and greens. So, or you can do a combination color scheme of warm and cool. Now, remember, if you do that, it does have to be separated by white in the middle, because if those two colors mix together, they create a neutral. So if you are doing a super bright color scheme, you want to use a dark color for your silhouette for your tree. Now, I'm going to use black, but really you could use something completely funky or wacky, like dark blue, dark green, dark purple, something like that. Now, let's say you want your background, you want like a dark color scheme for your background. Let's say you're doing cool colors and they're dark. You could get away with making your trees a much lighter color. Okay, so think of it this way. If you're doing the trees dark, keep the background like a little bit lighter and brighter. If you are keeping the background light and if you're keeping the background super dark, you can make these trees kind of a funky color like yellow, who even knows, yellow, and it'll contrast with the background. So what we're looking for with this is light versus dark. Okay, so either the trees are dark background light or trees light background dark. All right, so something to think about. So I'm actually just going to be kind of a little bit boring and do this a little bit more traditionally with the black marker. All right, so I'm going to start off by doing my black marker first. And what I'm going to do for the silhouette is color this in completely. So I'm just kind of going to take my time, zone out here. And I'm going to try and speed up this process for you all because I know it's not really all that exciting to watch. Now, here's the deal. Let's say you don't really want to, you've drawn all these branches, and see how with the silhouette of the marker, you can really tell what your tree looks like. Let's say you have like 50 million branches and you're like, oh yeah, that's not working. You don't have to trace them all in marker, but you do have to erase them. Okay, so feel free even to use this as an edit, because as I'm going along here, I'm like, I definitely want to add different branches in different places just to make it look a little bit more realistic, but that's me. Okay, so use this as another way to edit your piece, because, oh my gosh, the silhouette of this marker is going to show you truly what your piece looks like. Truly, truly. Okay, so as I'm coloring this in, I'm going to talk about color schemes real quick. So with color schemes, like I just mentioned, warm colors, we have yellow all the way through red, violet. Cool color schemes, we have yellow, green all the way through just regular violet. And then the warm and cool is one color, like let's say blue and orange from the opposite side of the color wheel. And then they're blended into white in the middle as to not completely mix. Okay, so because again, if they were to completely mix, they would create sort of a neutral color. When I say neutral, I really mean something like a brownish gray, which is not really ideal for a sunset type photo. Okay, so I think for mine, I am going to do something like a warm color scheme, just because that's something that I want to do. Here we go. All right, I'm going to do this one real quick. For variety. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do red into orange, maybe red into pink into orange. Remember, pink can go where red is on the color wheel, so you can blend pink into what's on either side of red. So it can go into orange, it can go into purple. And so just know that you have that as an option. Now, what's important here is you have to keep colors in color order. All right, so we got to look at the color wheel. We're going to have that on our slideshow today. That actually looks pretty cool. on our slideshow, and just to keep them in color order. So that means if you're doing something like, okay, I'm doing a cool color scheme, you don't want to skip from yellow to, or sorry, yellow, green to violet to blue, because skipping around out of color order will also create colors, blended colors, that are neutrals. Okay, and that's not really something you're looking for in a sky. So we want to keep them kind of in analogous order, right? So side by side by side by side, or whatever. And this is what I have so far. All right, so the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to clean off my oil pastels that I think I'm going to use today. And so that's going to be, do I even have a red? Holy geez. Weird. Maybe I don't have a red to use. What color is this? Orange. Okay. All right, so I do have an orange. And again, I'm just cleaning these off. All right, I do have a pink. I do have a yellow. So for whatever reason, I don't have a red here. Interesting. You know, something like that might actually be cool. It's not going to look maybe the best, but I think we're good. I'm good with that. All right, so pink into orange into red. Again, this follows in my color scheme. It's a warm color scheme and it follows in analogous order, right? So pink to orange to red, boom, done. Okay, so I am going to start layering my oil pastel in the background. So what I'm going to do is, I think toward the top of my paper, I'm going to do my, actually, I'm going to fade this out from the whatever, sun, moon, whatever this happens to be itself. So I'm actually going to do this in a curved manner. I'm going to up my game here. All right. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to do pink followed by orange followed by yellow. Or actually, maybe I'll do it the opposite way. Nah, I'm just going to do it this way. All right. So what I'm going to do is, and again, you have options, okay? So you can decide how you apply this. Typically, I tell students that darkest part of the sky should be sort of at the top of the page. And as you get toward the horizon, it's a lighter color. But again, I want you to figure out how you want to apply this. This does not necessarily need to be super realistic looking by any means. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do, and P.S., this is hard right now, so I'm basically fading my color, you know, around this tree. So I'm doing the best that I can to give this a base layer. Okay, I'm going to do my hard pressure, medium pressure out. This is already looking pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I think just the colors. So closest to the sun, moon, whatever this happens to be, I'm pressing really hard. And remember guys, as we layer this oil pastel, one of the things that we want to do is we want to eventually have some pretty decent blended pure colors, right? So see how I'm pressing really hard with that around that area? We're going to blend our colors together, but we do not want this to look like crayon in the end, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind as we are going. And I'm kind of fading this, sorry, I'm doing this on an angle because I'm going to try and do strokes that are like this, or I'm going to fade it like this, kind of in a curve. So I think you'll see what I mean as soon as I get out of the branches of my tree. All right, I'm fading this out. So I'm releasing the pressure. because I know in this area I'm going to overlap it with the orange. But up towards the top, it's just going to be pure pink. Okay, so pure pink. All right, so that's looking pretty good so far. And remember, from here I'm going to blend it, oops, sorry. From here I'm going to blend it into the orange and then into the yellow. Again, I'm pressing kind of hard towards the top. And look, I didn't tape this oil pastel. Look, look what's happening. Boo. Guys, that's the whole reason why we went through all that process. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to tape your oil pastels, because that makes a difference. Okay, so I am fading this out right about now, because I'm going to bring in the orange in just a sec. So I'm going to fade this out towards the middle. Okay, so this is what I have. Yep, feeding it out, feeding it out, feeding it out. And the reason why I'm fading it out is I'm going to bring in orange over top, and I want it to create this like pinky orange type color. Okay, so I'm starting to go to lighter pressure. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so I am basically over that pink color now. Okay, so at this point I have my orange. Again, this is going to gonna blend it in here, and I'm gonna keep it light and then start to press harder as I get through this area. Okay, so I'm actually going to press really light in here, as light as I can, because I'm gonna blend it with I'm gonna blend mine with the orange, or sorry, blend mine with the yellow. And guys, as you get close to things, you can go in an opposite direction. So see how I'm doing one direction, but then I'm switching directions? That's fine, as long as it looks like it's well crafted, right? So you can't really tell the direction in the end. So right now I'm keeping my layer of orange light down here, and I'm going to come back and press a little bit harder in a second, because I just want to make sure I get it on the paper. If you leave it like this, it looks like crayon, and it really doesn't look, in my opinion, as good as it could be, because oil pastels, remember, oil pastels have that magical ability where they really look like oil paint. Okay, and so you really do, in your final layer, want to press pretty hard with them. Okay, so see how I'm starting to blend this orange in. Again, I'm keeping it light. I'm going to go back over it in just a second. Here we go. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and start to do now is I'm going to start to press it a little bit harder where I know it's going, where I know I'm going to need it. So right in the middle here, I'm going to bring it up. Sorry for knocking the camera here. I'm going to start to fade it out. Start to bring it down. Hard pressure, hard pressure. And in just a moment, I'm going to do the sweep with the pink. And so what that's going to allow me to do is really blend that pink back in, because right now I have what's called the sweater effect, right? So the sweater effect basically is when you have two colors that meet each other, but they don't overlap. Okay, so that creates an issue for us because we want these to blend seamlessly. That's one of our criteria, is colors have to overlap and blend with one another. Otherwise, what's even the point of any of this? Okay, so right now I've brought in, I'm going to fade this out a little bit. Yeah, there we go. I'm fading this out because I'm going to bring the yellow in just a sec. And I'm going to do the sweep with my pink. So what this means is I'm going to bring the pink back in right in this area here and blend it in. And again, I'm going to do that with hard pressure. Look at how cool that looks. And what that does is it blends the two together. Here we go. Blends the two together. And see how there's not a line where one stops and one starts? That's totally what we're looking for. And the last part of my process here is I'm going to go ahead and bring in the yellow from the bottom. Now, before I do that, if I'm bringing in a lighter color, I want to make sure that I have the lightest pressure possible with this color right here, which I've tried to do. It's very hard. This is trying. Okay. So what I'm going to do at this point is I am going to bring this yellow in. Or you know what? Maybe I'll bring a peach in. Now let's try the yellow. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to bring this in from the bottom. Actually, that looks kind of cool. Okay, so that looks okay. It's not the best thing ever. All right, so I don't really like that there's a line here, so I think I would continue to mess with this, but I would not really going to do it on our watch right now. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this. Okay, so right now I have something that looks pretty awesome. Okay, so this is my faded landscape. And right now the colors are blending, no sweater effect. One other thing you guys can do is after you do the oil pastel, if you feel like you have lost some of your tree color, okay, I would come back in and doctor that up. You can also do a treatment on your moon or sun or whatever this happens to be. I like mine white. One thing I may do a little bit of is I could do a little bit of shading on this with my pencil. And just do something that looks like this, if I so chose. So something that kind of looks more like this. And this is looking really cool. So this is basically our process for our project, okay? Before you turn this in, make sure you do not have the sweater effect. Make sure your oil pastel is as vibrant as mine, okay? And I will double check everyone's work hopefully before we turn these in. Trying to get some shading going on that. Actually, that looks pretty good overall. Not the best thing. Okay.